Jill Biden's dirty secret? She put status before Joe's health. With President Donald J. Trump once again leading the nation, America is reclaiming strength and decisiveness in governance. However, as we reflect on the disastrous years of the Biden administration, a glaring question remains. How did the nation allow a cognitively diminished man to occupy the Oval Office for so long? And more importantly, what role did Jill Biden play in keeping him in power, despite of clear signs of decline? The release this week of the Robert Hur interview audio exposed undeniable truths about Joe Biden's cognitive impairment. While Democratic operatives desperately tried to dismiss concerns, saying, oh, we're going to look forward. We're going to look forward. The reality was clear. Biden was unfit for the presidency, and yet his wife ensured he remained there. Her unwavering determination to hold on to the prestige and influence of being First Lady arguably amounted to elder abuse, as she refused to let go of power, even when it was obvious her husband needed to step aside. The Hur interview was a smoking gun ignored. Special counsel Robert Hur's investigation into Biden's mishandling of classified documents inadvertently revealed something far more consequential: the president's cognitive decline. The recorded interview confirmed Biden's severe memory lapses, which were significant enough for Hur to cite as a reason not to prosecute. It was a stunning revelation, an admission that the sitting president of the United States was incapable of recalling basic facts. But despite this, Jill Biden continued to push her husband forward, ensuring he remained shielded from scrutiny. Any discussion of his declining faculties was aggressively shot down, and public appearances were carefully managed. Rather than prioritizing his health and stepping away from power gracefully, she clung to the status of First Lady, refusing to relinquish the spotlight, even as the country suffered under weak leadership. Jill Biden's addiction was to the trappings of power. For Jill, the title of First Lady wasn't just a role. It was an identity. She reveled in the influence, attention, and perks that came with being at the pinnacle of America's political society. The lavish White House events, global diplomatic engagements, and media adoration, Dr. Jill Biden, were part of a life she had no intention of giving up, even as her husband visibly faltered. Instead of urging Biden to retire and focus on his health, she insisted he remain in office. Not out of love, but out of self-interest. The power, the status, the ability to dictate policy behind the scenes. These were luxuries she wasn't willing to surrender. It's one thing to support a spouse, but it's entirely another to manipulate them into remaining in an untenable position, just for the sake of personal ambition. In any other context, this behavior would be called exploitation. If a caregiver pushed an elderly relative to maintain a high-pressure job despite obvious cognitive decline, it would be considered cruel. Yet when Jill Biden did the same to her husband, the media framed it as devotion, rather than self-serving obsession. It was. Now, with President Trump back in office, America has moved past the weakness and confusion of Biden's tenure. Gone are the days of embarrassing public missteps, aimless policies, and a president who required constant management just to get through a sentence. Under Trump's leadership, America is once again projecting strength, decisiveness, and a firm commitment to national security. But the damage done by the Biden administration cannot be forgotten. The fact that a cognitively diminished man was permitted to lead the country for years should concern every American. Jill Biden's role in this deception, her willingness to keep in office for the sake of maintaining the trappings of First Ladyhood, deserves scrutiny and condemnation. Jill's actions should serve as a stark warning. America must never again allow a compromised leader to be propped up for the benefit of those clinging to power. You, the American people, deserve transparency. You deserve accountability and leaders who are truly capable, not carefully packaged figureheads managed by their spouses. With President Trump's leadership restored, the nation can finally move forward, However, we must never forget the lesson of the past. Weak leaders are dangerous, and those who enable them for personal gain must be held responsible. Watch this clip of Joe and Jill on the View recently, and share your thoughts in the comments, please.
But first, this week, as Donald Trump was negotiating trade deals with the UK and brokering peace between Pakistan and India, we heard from the former leader of the free world, who, together with chief elder abuse enabler Dr. Jill, appeared on the lunatic asylum masquerading as a TV show called The View. This was to show that far from being a puppet president, Joe Biden was and is cognitively sound, sharp as a tack. It went about as well as you'd expect.
The projects, the benefits. How do you lead the world without having the best infrastructure in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best healthcare in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best education system in the world?
Yeah, I have no idea what he's trying to say. They're not even sure that Dr. Jill can interpret that mess. But Jill did step in to save the day when Biden was eventually asked about his mental decline. Poor Joe rattled off some lies about an insurrection, blamed Trump for the COVID pandemic unleashed by China, before handballing the question to Jill. This is just sad.
Deeply sourced from Democratic sources that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities in the final year of your presidency. What is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that, number one. Number two, think of what we were left with. We were left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started. Not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, ended up over 1 million people dying, And we're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work, and we got it done. And one of the things and
Alyssa, one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us.